Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. I appreciate you guys for tapping into yet another Akem'S analysis. Got a great episode for you guys today. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the NCAA tournament, men's and women's side, but we're also going to be talking some college football. Idaho head football coach Thomas Ford Jr. just sat down with Sam Herder. Got a soundbite from him that we're going to be talking about. The NCAA is now allowing NIL athletes to negotiate NIL contracts before commitments, and I thought that was already the case, but I'm going to give my thoughts about that. Montana State just got a new quarterback through the transfer portal. We are going to be talking about that. EA football up in the payment to college athletes. We got some thoughts about that. Fran Brown at Syracuse is changing the NIL landscape. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. I want to give some thoughts about that. Former Sac State head coach Troy Taylor is catching some heat in the media. There's some reports coming out about his treatment of some of his staff at Stanford. We are going to talk about that. Got a comment from Sac State President Luke Wood, Dr. Luke Wood, about what's going on at Sac State. We'll give quick thoughts about that. We've talked about that enough. And then we got to finish it off with our segment, Hot Takes or Real Talk. And we got some hot takes or real talk in that segment as well. So make sure you guys tune in for the entire video. It's going to be a great one today. I appreciate you guys for tapping in. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Make sure you guys comment down below. Also, remember, 80% of you guys who are watching my channel are not subscribed to the channel, so please support the channel. Hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. But we will get straight into it. Okay, the NCAA tournament kicked off last week, and the first round of 64 games were played. There's now 32 left on the men's side. I believe they're down to the round of 32 on the women's side as well. But the Grizz, the men's Grizz basketball team played in the NCAA tournament. They unfortunately fell to Wisconsin. Not for a lack of trying. I really think it was the fact that, Montana really just couldn't put the ball in the hoop enough times. That Wisconsin defense was really proven to be the difference. And a lot of times when you look at games like this, it ends up being the bench scoring. Not that Wisconsin's bench went crazy. 11 points from Xavier Amos, 8 points from Carter Gilmore, 4 points from Mr. McGee. So really only 3 guys on their bench put up points, but, they only got 5, 13, 15 points out of the Montana bench. So really the benches weren't super, different in their scoring output, but almost every starter for Wisconsin put up double digits. I really just think it was the defense. Montana really couldn't put the ball in the hoop. The percentages from the field goal percentage for Wisconsin is significantly higher than Montana. So those 2-pointers weren't falling. From 3, they were pretty similar. 30% for both from 3. Free throw line is pretty similar, but putting the ball in the hoop is what the game is about. Putting the brown thing in the round thing, and Montana couldn't do that enough times. But that doesn't take away from the amazing season that they had. Obviously, making the tournament is a feat in itself. Being the Big Sky champions is the one of the biggest things I think for a lot of mid majors. Obviously, the goal is always a national championship, but I think in basketball, you have to frame your goals a little differently, especially for a Montana. For a Wisconsin, for a Big Ten, ACC, Big East, in specific teams, their goal is to win the national championship every year, bar none. I mean, the conference championship is cool, and that's obviously one of your goals for the season. But for schools like that, you want to win the national championship every year. If not, it's a failure. At a Montana, I don't think, for football at Montana, the standard is national championship. The Big Sky should be understood. The national championship is obviously what we're going for in football. Any school, I think, in FCS football, you're going for the national championship because I think it's more practical for most of the schools, at least in the Big Sky and the MVFC and the CAA. Some of those upper tier conferences in football, that's the expectation. For basketball, especially a mid-major like Montana, a smaller D1 school, you're obviously, the expectation is we want to win the Big Sky. And then I think after that, I don't know how these teams are shaping their goals. And if they're good coaches, they're most likely shaping it as if we expect to win the national championship. But also, excuse me, you want to be a little realistic. Like, come on, man. Like, recruiting, NIL, like a lot of these smaller tier schools can't even hang in there. I know a Montana can't hang in there with a Villanova in terms of NIL. Some of those Big East schools like a St. John's or whoever it is, VCU, some of those, I don't know if VCU is in the Big East, but I'm just mentioning schools that are primarily better at basketball, schools that don't even really, a lot of those schools in the Big East don't even play football. So that comes with that as well. I know St. John's head coach, I'm blanking on his name, but St. John basketball head coach Patini. He was on Rick Pitino. He was on the Pat McAfee show this past week, and he was talking about how for St. John's, with the revenue sharing, they're going to be opting in. And because they don't have football at their school, they have more funds that they can share with their basketball team. That is a perfect example of why a school like Montana may not ever be able to hang in the NCAA tournament, just because they don't have resources like that. So when a school isn't having to share as much of the pie as a Montana is, and Montana's not even going to bring in as much NIL money as I'm sure St. John's would bring in anyway. So there's a few factors at play, but I think Montana has had a phenomenal season. They had a few down years after the COVID years. You know, Coach DeCure was trying to figure out his lane, and he talked about that after their game, or after the Big Sky tournament as well. You know, how he felt like this was his best coaching job, how, you know, everything wasn't easy for them. The guys on the team know how hard they had to work to get to that Big Sky tournament championship, and they did it. So hats off to the Montana Grizz men. You guys had an amazing season. Looking forward to seeing what you guys are able to return. I think I heard Tajon Sawyer is looking at returning. Kai Johnson, I think, potentially maybe has another year. Brandon Whitney is done. I think Joe Pridgeon is done. I'm not sure about Malik Moore, but I think it's seeming as though Montana could potentially have some of their top-tier talent, some of their better players from this year's squad returning next year. So we will wait and see. You guys let me know what you guys thought about the Montana game. I really just think it came down to their offense. I don't think their defense lacked much. I mean, giving up 85 is not terrible. Obviously, you would love that to be a little lower. They did shoot 50% from the field. So from that standpoint, 55% from the field. So from that standpoint, you know, not great. But, you know, okay, not going anywhere too fast. We're going to be talking about the Montana State women's basketball team. They played in the NCAA tournament as well. Similar result. Almost the same result, losing by 19 for the men of Montana, and now the women of Montana State lost by 20 to, did I say 10? Montana men lost by 20. The Montana State Lady Bobcats lost by 20 as well to Ohio State, and, you know, I think it's a similar outcome. You know, they beat them in three-point shooting. Their bench scoring wasn't great, but even Ohio State's bench scoring wasn't great, but their starters all in double digits. You look at Montana State starters, only one player in double digits, or two players in double digits, one starter in double digits. That's Esmeralda Morales, their best player. She put up 20. So obviously she's doing what she does, but, you know, you need help, and it seems that Esmeralda did not have any help. Not to put any blame or anything on any of those girls on that team. Obviously, you're playing a Big Ten opponent. It's not going to be easy for you, a good Big Ten opponent at that. So, I mean, this is just what happens when some mid-majors, some smaller mid-majors get into the tournament. Obviously, you would hope for an upset, but man, it gets tough. It gets tough. I mean, a lot of times when you see those upsets, those teams start to play their best ball. And that's the thing about basketball, and especially college basketball. That's why the tournament's so exciting, is because it's only one game. If you look at the NBA, you look at the WNBA, they're playing series, and usually in a series, the best team is most likely going to win, because if you're playing a best of 5, you're playing a best of 7, there are multiple opportunities for you guys to figure out that other team and get it right. In the NCAA tournament, on the women's side and on the men's side, that is why it's so exciting, because you get one opportunity. I sound like Eminem. You get one opportunity to make something happen. And if you don't, if you have a bad shooting night, and that's actually, to mention the Pat McAfee show again, Tom Izzo was on there talking about how basketball's so unique, the NCAA tournament's so unique, because sometimes you just have a bad shooting night, and that just is what it is. And not to say, in all fairness to the Montana State Lady Bobcats, I wasn't able to watch this game. I was busy at the time, pretty busy at the time. I wanted to watch it, but you know, sometimes the ball just doesn't fall in. They shot 40%, which isn't terrible, but you know, when the other team is shooting 50%, not great from 3-point range, but you know, I mean, just got to put the ball in the hoop. And it really seems like Ohio State was doing that at a higher level than Montana State. But, you know, it goes back to the sentiment that I was speaking about with the men's side. It's the same on the women's side. The money, the resources at some of these schools is just far better than any of these Big Sky schools, any of these smaller tier, maybe even Summit League schools. But there are some Summit League schools that are doing pretty good this year. But it's just tough. it just gets tough in the tournament. And this is a Montana State team who has a better record than Ohio State and was a really good team. Wire to wire, was probably the best team on the women's side, at least in the Big Sky Conference all year. They got challenged late in the season, but they really were the best team wire to wire this year, and it just sucks. It's just tough to see a team like this go down. I obviously didn't tune into basketball a ton, but I want to show these ladies and these men some love on an amazing season and making it this far. So congrats to the Montana State Lady Bobcats. Congrats to the men of Montana as well. Great season. Not so sure who's returning for the Montana State Lady Bobcats, but we'll be excited to see what they're able to do next season. Basketball season is coming to a close as the March Madness tournament pushes on the women's and men's side. You guys let me know what you guys thought about the Montana State game if you guys tuned into it. Let me know what you guys thought about what they were able to do. What did they not do well? What do you guys think? And yeah, leave a comment down below and I will move on. Okay, I have a topic that I want to talk about now, and it is asking one central question. Are the Cinderella stories in the NCAA tournament gone forever? And I got this tweet from Sean Rainey pulled up of him talking about the tournament, and I want to give some thoughts. We got one tweet from Sean Rainey, and we also have another tweet from Skyline Sports that we're going to pull up as well. They were having a little discourse on Twitter, friendly discourse, not disagreeing at all, just people giving their thoughts about where the Cinderella stories stand currently and where they think the future of Cinderella stories in the NCAA tournament is going. So first, Sean Rainey said 10 years ago, UCSD would have beat Michigan, but Wolverines hand selected the best player from the Ivy League, and it was enough to not get upset. Wisconsin hand selected the best player in the Mountain West, ensuring they wouldn't get upset by a talented UM team. Unfortunately, the Cinderella runs will be few and far between now, and maybe the tournament being different in that aspect, many will say ruined, it will create some guidelines to the NIL issue because college hoops is never going to be the same. And then Skyline Sports chimed in and said, this is spot on, and look at double-digit seeds remaining. New Mexico, who's a double-digit seed remaining, has a coach who's getting paid almost $100 million. Colorado State has an NBA player. 10th seed Arkansas pays John Calipari $8 million a year. McNeese State is coached by former LSU coach Will Wade. So I think what they're trying to point at here is that 10 years ago, UCSD, which I think is UC San Diego maybe, would have beat Michigan. Now they can't because they can't even hang. The resources that some of these bigger schools have is just, and it's the same thing you're seeing on the football side, same exact thing you're seeing on the football side, but the resources that some of these schools have in order to recruit some of the better players from mid-major, smaller schools is just ridiculous. The Cinderella runs are becoming so far few between is because all the best players in college basketball are all in 3 or 4 conferences, are all on the top 50, 60 teams in the NCAA tournament. And then Skyline Sports is chiming in to say, and look at the double-digit seeds remaining. They're talking about the resources that these schools have. The New Mexico head coach is getting paid almost $1 million a year. 10th seed Arkansas has a legendary, I don't know if I'll call him legendary, but has a storied head coach in John Calipari who's had a ton of success and is getting paid $8 million a year. How many schools can pay a coach $8 million a year? Colorado State has an NBA player, so a lower seed, still has a ton of talent on their team. McNeese State is coached by a former SEC coach. So, just trying to paint the picture for people on where the college landscape sits. And it really is starting to seem like those Florida Atlantic or Florida International, some of those smaller mid-major schools that could make the Cinderella run, the Loyolas, the St. Mary's, the Dickinson State, or I can't even remember, was it Dickinson? All these schools that end up making runs in the NCAA tournament, are those gone? Is it forever gone that we see a Cinderella story in the NCAA tournament? I don't know if I would say it's over because it felt like just last year, and somebody actually, I should have put the comment from Kyle Sample on here as well. He made a comment underneath it talking about last year we just had an NC State that was in a lower seed NC State that made it pretty deep in the tournament. There were some other schools as well. It might have been St. Mary. I can't remember if St. Mary was last year, but there were some Cinderellas last year that made it pretty deep in the tournament. So it might be a little early to say the Cinderella stories are gone. I think we got to give it a couple more years to really see how things pan out. to see if the Cinderella stories are truly gone. But just with NIL, with revenue sharing, this has been something that coaches throughout the entire offseason have mentioned. People all over the college football or all over college sports landscape have mentioned how things may be changing up, and not so much for the better. I mean, that is why people tune into the tournament. That is why there's so much money put into the NCAA tournament in terms of gambling, and also because in terms of putting on that tournament, there's money, resources that are invested into that tournament, because it has been amazing for the last however so many 30, 40, 50, 60 years that it's been going on. And now it just seems like some of the draw that was there, those smaller schools want to, you want to watch your team win in the tournament. You want to watch your team do good in the tournament. And it's seeming like that may not so much be the case anymore. Now, I don't know what needs to happen. I mean, there's no fix. It's the world in a capitalistic society. When you have money, when you can buy the best of the best, you are always going to rule supreme. So I don't know if there's a fix to this. Sean Rainey was mentioning how they may need some NIL guidelines. He mentioned, unfortunately, the Cinderella run will be few and far between now, and maybe the tournament being different in that aspect. Many will say ruined. It will create some guidelines to the NIL issue, because college hoops is never going to be the same aspect. Unfortunately, the Cinderella. Yeah, so, I mean, man, it's tough out here. It's tough out here for these smaller schools, and I don't have the answer. I am not a league commissioner. I am not somebody who is tasked with fixing this problem. And is it a problem? I mean, the people at the top would say it's not a problem, but the small guy would definitely say it's a problem, because, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. All I can really say is get your money up in the most respectful way to some of these smaller schools, because these big schools are they want to compete, they want to be the best of the best, and if spending money is how they have to do it, they're gonna spend that money. So yeah, I don't know if the Cinderella stories are gone. Just a topic that I saw brewing on Twitter in relation to some of these the Montanas and Montana States getting knocked out of the tournament, and I just wanted to give my thoughts about it. So you guys let me know what you guys think about the NCAA tournament, women's and men's side. Do you guys think Cinderella stories are gone? You guys let me know down below, and I will move on. Okay, next I wanted to listen to a soundbite from new Idaho head coach Thomas Ford. He sat down with Sam Herder. They talked a little bit about, his coaching journey. They talked about him getting the head coaching job at Idaho, and he gave his thoughts about, what he thinks he's going to be able to do at Idaho. I'm just let the soundbite talk, and then we can give our thoughts on it afterwards. So,
well, one thing specifically was just me wanting to find my next head coaching opportunity. It was very strategic, right? I didn't want to just take any job, right? I honestly really wanted to find a job at the FCS level that has an opportunity to compete every year and has a good location. And so obviously Idaho has all those things. And then obviously you put together me being here an assistant and kind of seeing how Coach Eck and our staff back in 2022 got it going, and we're able to sustain that success over 3 seasons. It was pretty much a no-brainer for me. I just knew that we have an opportunity here to be special, where we'll have a chance to be in the mix for the Big Sky every year. And obviously, if you have a chance to be the Big Sky champ, you have a pretty good shot at playing for a national title. So, this opportunity couldn't be better and more of a fit for me.
Okay, so that was Coach Thomas Ford's thoughts about him getting the new head coaching job at Idaho. Gosh, I spelled his name wrong in my notes here. I'm very excited to see what Coach Thomas Ford is able to do at Idaho. I've mentioned that, for weeks now since he got the new job. I'm excited to see what he was able to do. I have been excited about what Coach Eck had been doing at Idaho. I love Coach Eck. I met him this past year for the first time at the Big Sky Media Day, and I was very impressed with, just how he was with me. He called me out on misdiagnosing a play in one of my breakdowns, but then we had a really good conversation. So I really had grown pretty fond of Coach Eck, and I'm excited to see what Coach Ford is able to do as well. I had a few questions about one thing. He was looking for another head coaching job at the FCS level, which gives him the opportunity to compete every year. I think there's not a better job that he could have gotten than at Idaho. In terms of getting an attractive job at the FCS level, good location, Moscow, Idaho, good school in the Big Sky Conference. I don't know what their resources like are at Idaho, but I don't think they're at the bottom tier of the Big Sky in terms of resources. Like, I think they have a lot of what he was looking for a head coaching job. I think it's a very attractive job. They compete in the Big Sky every year. Now, will that continue with him being the head coach? I think they're able to recruit in terms of looking at other Big Sky schools. I think if you're somebody coming from the South, if you're somebody coming from a warm weather location and you're looking at coming to play in the Big Sky and you're being recruited by an Idaho, a Montana, or Montana State, I think playing in a dome is something that can draw a lot of players away from a Montana or Montana State. It may be crazy to say, but trust me, some of those kids coming out of California, some of those kids coming out of Texas, Florida, some of the southern states, and I don't even know how heavy Montana and Montana State are recruiting those states. But if you are looking to recruit somebody from those states, I think Idaho might have a leg up on some of the basically all the Big Sky schools, except for NAU maybe. NAU plays in a dome. Idaho and Idaho State play in a dome. Nobody's ever going to pick Idaho State over Idaho. No offense, Idaho State. But Idaho State, Idaho is always going to win. I believe Idaho is always going to win. I'm sure there's times when Idaho State wins, but Idaho should always win. I wanted to ask some questions about what he said at the end, though. He said, if you have a chance to be the Big Sky champ, you have a pretty good shot at playing for a national championship. And I wanted to ask, does being the Big Sky champs automatically make you a national championship contender? And I'm not so sure if you can say that yet, just given how long it's been since the Big Sky has won a national championship. Now, I'm really asking the question just to start discourse. I 100%, let me tell you that I 100% get what Thomas Ford is saying. Being in the Big Sky Championship, being in the Big Sky Conference, being a better Big Sky Conference team, if you win the Big Sky Conference, that should automatically assume that you are a Big Sky or a national championship contender. If you're playing at the top tier of the Big Sky Conference, which I would say is the second best conference in FCS football, that automatically makes you a contender. I get what he's saying. But can you say that right now? I think given how long it's been since a Big Sky team won the national championship, I don't know if being the Big Sky Conference champion automatically makes you a contender. I think we need to see a Big Sky team win a national championship first before you can just assume a Big Sky team is a contender. Because I look at the 3 seasons that Sac State won the Big Sky Conference, 3 straight seasons they won the Big Sky Conference, couldn't even make it too deep into the playoffs. There was Montana State was making it further than the Big Sky tournament champion, the Big Sky Conference champion in the FCS playoffs than the Big Sky Conference champion. So I don't know if you're automatically a national championship contender just based on some of the history of the Big Sky Conference. That doesn't always assume that you're going to make a deep run, and it hasn't always meant that you're going to make a deep run. So I don't know if that if that is a 100% fair to say. I get where he's coming from, and yeah. My next question and final question is, what will Idaho's record be in Thomas Ford's first year? I think he's going to struggle first year. I don't foresee Idaho being at the top tier of the Big Sky Conference in 2025, just based on how much talent left. Now, obviously, talent's leaving, talent's coming in. You hope that a coach can retool, and that's why Thomas Ford is coming in there. He's got some pedigree, being the former running back coach at Oregon State. I think he will be able to recruit. How well will he be able to recruit? That's what we're waiting to see. I don't foresee them being super good in the Big Sky Conference in the first year. Now, I have also mentioned that I think the Big Sky Conference will be down this year. I think it's looking like Sac State's not going to play in the Big Sky Conference, so take them out of there. I mean, if it isn't Idaho, Montana State, UC Davis, who is it going to be? Now, I don't also think UC Davis is going to be too good this year, but Tim Plow could surprise me. I'll be waiting to be surprised. I don't know what to expect out of the Big Sky Conference. So Thomas Ford and Idaho could very well go undefeated, win a national championship in his first year as head coach. I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong. I love being wrong. I love people coming back and telling me I told you so. I have no problem admitting when I was wrong. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think if they're playing 12 games this year, I think Montana's playing 12 games this year. I think there's quite a few schools playing 12 games this year. I could see Idaho being 7-5 this year, or 6-6. I could see them being around there. I don't know though, because if Sac State wasn't great last year, but who, if not the top tier of the Big Sky, who? And now I might have to change my sentiment on this because I'm just thinking about how I don't know. I don't know. The Big Sky Conference is very up in the air, but I just think it's kind of difficult to transition into the Big Sky and really make waves that first year. I know Coach Eck was able to do so, and not that I'm doubting Coach Ford. I hope Coach Ford is able to do it as well, and we will see. We will just have to wait and see. But exciting news, exciting things are happening at Idaho. Coach Ford coming into Idaho, getting that head coaching job. We will be able to, I will be watching. Obviously, I'm going to be paying attention. We cover the Big Sky here on Akem'S Analysis with Skyline Sports. We're covering the Big Sky Conference. So we will be watching it like from a bird's eye view with a hawk to be able to see what Idaho's able to do. Obviously, cheering all the Big Sky schools on along the way, hoping everybody plays well, hoping everybody competes at a high level. But you guys let me know what you guys think about Thomas Ford. What do you guys think about his comments? Do you think being the Big Sky champion makes you a national championship contender in the Big Sky Conference? I would say no right now, but you guys can let me know what you guys think about that down below, and I will move on. Okay, this is very interesting. The NCAA is now going to allow athletes to negotiate NIL contracts before commitments after the new House settlement. So, per ESPN's Dan Murphy, as part of a legal settlement on Monday, the NCAA agreed to permanently eliminate a rule that prohibited athletes from negotiating NIL deals until after they enroll in college, opening the door for them to secure their contracts before making their commitments. I think this is a change that they're making due to the House settlement. And I remember when I first saw this, I was thinking, haven't they already been doing that? Haven't they already been negotiating contracts? But I think there was language in there that forbade them from signing legal documents before getting to school. Schools have already embraced the impending changes. Murphy added that many of them have already started signing contracts with their athletes in anticipation of the settlement's approval. So basically, they are trying to, now, high school athletes can sign contracts that say, I am locked into this school for, I don't know if they're year-long contracts, if they're 3-year-long contracts. I would love to see what a mock-up of an NIL contract looks like for a high school athlete or for a college athlete. But basically, these college recruits, I'm getting recruited by Alabama, Georgia, all the SEC is recruiting me. I'm going to go to the SEC. I just don't know where yet. South Carolina, and a kid is battling between Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina. These kids can now sign contracts that bind them into this school. And it's basically, because I don't think they have them sound the national, I think the national letter of intent, either it's gone or they talked about, I remember seeing something in the winter about them taking away the national letter of intent. So therefore, you don't, because I think the national letter of intent was at least a year-long agreement. Like, you're signing that deal, you're in the school for that next school year, you re-sign it at the end of that school year, and you're going to do that every year as long as you're at that school. I don't think that exists anymore, so there's nothing binding at all for these athletes to lock them in for at least a year. So now we got contracts. Rev share is coming. There's going to be money. I would love to see what one of these mock-up contracts looks like, and I probably should do some research online and try to find one. But I guess this is a good change. These schools can kind of lock down their athletes and make sure that they don't get poached. If you commit to us, you sign a contract. You commit to us, you sign a contract with us, you're locked in for the next 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. I don't know what the agreements are, and I don't know if there's going to be buyouts or whatever it's going to look like. Obviously, this is still very new to a lot of people in the college football landscape, but I believe this is a change in the right direction. I think that this is good for the schools. If you're allowing these schools to be the middleman for a lot of these NIL deals, I just think it's honestly, I think it's going to benefit them, some of the smaller schools, maybe the Mountain West, the G5s, maybe even some of the FCS schools. I think it'll benefit them more than it'll benefit some of the top tier Power 4 schools, because you think about like a Montana State. They have said they're opting in. Now, they have also mentioned that opting in does not assume revenue sharing. That is just a part of the settlement agreement. You don't have to revenue share with opting into the House settlement. I believe Montana State will be. So you opt in. You sign this kid to a 2-year NIL contract. That locks him into your school. So say he's a freshman All-American, goes crazy. You are still locked in with us. You are going to be here next year. That is what I'm hearing from this new change. Now, I would love to see what these contracts look like. Obviously, people don't know what these contracts look like, but I think this is a change in the right direction of the new changing college football landscape, college athletics landscape. Now, man, there's so much that's going on right now, but I think this is a good change in the right direction. I think this is good structure that needs to be had. I think this gives admin, coaches, athletic directors, this gives all of them some peace of mind to know that, hey, we got this kid locked in for whatever set amount of time. But, we will see. We will see how this development comes along, and we'll see how the House settlement comes along as well. There's been a ton of schools opting in, a ton of schools putting their name in the hat for name, or not even for name, image, and likeness anymore, putting their name in the hat for the House settlement, the NCAA versus House settlement, and we will see what some of those changes come to be. So you guys let me know what you guys think about this. Were you guys along the lines of me and you guys thought this already was in place? Or is this a new development for you and this is news to you? You guys let me know down below and I will move on. Okay, former Stanford and Syracuse quarterback Justin Lamson has committed to Montana State, he tells ESPN. He planned to attend Bowling Green for the 2025 season, but entered the portal after head coaching change. So Bowling Green, I can't remember who exactly their previous head coach was, but they just hired Eddie George as their new head coach. So now TSU is looking for a new head coach. Not going to give my thoughts about that Eddie George job. We don't really cover the MAC at all, so I don't really care about that Bowling Green job. Good luck to Eddie George. Sorry that your team couldn't get a win in Missoula, but you guys had a great season last year. Congrats on that Big South OVC championship. Justin Lamson, now at Montana State. I think this is a very, very good change for Montana State. I think this is a very good recruit to bring in Montana State. Lamson told ESPN, Montana State is intriguing to me because Coach Vigen has developed something great there, and they are consistently in contention for a national title. That is what everybody wants. If you're coming to an FCS school, I don't want to just be there. I want to win. I'm coming from Stanford. I'm coming from Syracuse. Power 4 schools. I want to compete at the highest level if I'm dropping down. I don't want to come to the FCS and play for a measly NEC championship or a measly Patriot League championship. I want to play for a national championship and obviously a Big Sky championship as well. Vigen had recruited Lamson to Wyoming when he was the OC there. Vigen helped develop Josh Allen while in Laramie. I think that really is one of Brent Vigen's biggest claims to fame, is he was a quarterback coach, or he was the OC while he was OC while Lamson was there, but he also helped develop Josh Allen, who is now the NFL MVP, just signed a huge contract, has played great ball while his time being in the NFL. But Justin Lamson, I think Justin Lamson is a great guy to bring into Bozeman, Montana. I got his career stats up here. Now, is Justin Lamson Tommy Mellott? Absolutely not. And he is not going to be Tommy Mellott. But what I do think he does for them is I think he brings in, now, obviously you guys are looking at the numbers same as me. 50% completion percentage, not strong. So is he going to light it up in the air? Absolutely not. But is that the type of ball that Montana State plays anyway? Absolutely not. But if you look right here, in 2023, 120 carries, 334 yards, 5 touchdowns. In 2024, 68 carries, 94 yards, but 8 touchdowns. 13 touchdowns in his career, rushing. That is what you're looking for in a Montana quarterback. That is what that Montana quarterback and a Montana State quarterback. That is what you're looking for in a Montana State quarterback. Somebody who can run the ball, run that zone run scheme that they run very heavily, zone read scheme where the quarterback will have to keep it. A lot of RPOs in that offense, getting into the flats, getting guys pushed up into the seams, getting guys pushed up down on those wheel routes. I mean, the running quarterback is a big piece of this offense, and if you want to be able to pick up where you left off with Tommy Mellott, you need to bring in a piece that can do that. Now, they obviously have Chance Wilson there. Man, I think he'll probably get the nod early on over Justin Lamson just because he knows the system, because he's been there. He's put in that sweat equity. I think he deserves that. Now, obviously, you have to earn it in training camp, but I think he deserves the one spot during spring ball. Now, I don't know how they do things at Montana State. They can do whatever they want, but Chance Wilson has been there. He's the guy. He knows the system. He was behind Tommy Mellott. I think he'll get the nod early on, but I think Justin Lamson could be a good piece to kind of challenge Chance Wilson, kind of make him better. I think he brings some good things to the table. He's bigger than Tommy Mellott. He's 6'2", 215 pounds. Man, I don't know. We'll see. I think, obviously, you don't know what Chance Wilson truly can do. I mean, people at Montana State know what Chance Wilson can do, but I don't think too many people know exactly what Chance Wilson is going to be because he hasn't had a big enough sample size and he hasn't played enough meaningful ball, which is honestly probably better for him. The fact that Tommy Mellott was healthy all season is a plus for Montana State. That had been the problem. He had never been healthy for the entire season. He was. They went to the national championship. I think that just exemplifies how important he was to that squad. How do you replace that? We are talking about one of the best quarterbacks ever to play at Montana State, one of the best athletes at Montana State. I mean, this dude did everything. He is a star of all stars. He knows what he's doing back there at the quarterback position for Montana State. Who is going to be that next guy? That is what Montana State is looking for. That is the position in FCS football. If you don't have a quarterback, you are not going to be able to compete for a national championship. Look at every school who has won a national championship. They have had a very, very competent, very, very veteran quarterback leading them. And I think you need that. Outside of Trey Lance, obviously, when he won it his freshman year. But I think you need that. So I'm excited about what Justin Lamson's going to do at Montana State. I think he's going to be either push Chance Wilson to be better or he may even get that spot. But we will see. I think it's exciting. Obviously, he has the traits that they look for at Montana State in a quarterback. Would love to see what his throwing numbers would be in a more consistent throwing offense. I mean, he hasn't – his throwing numbers aren't great, but it seems like he hasn't got a ton of opportunities to throw the ball either. So, I mean, 88 attempts in 2023, only 47 attempts in 2024. Now, maybe he wasn't throwing the ball a lot because that's not what he does well. But we will see. Obviously, they brought him in for a reason. They believe in him. And obviously, Coach Brent Vigen was recruiting him before for a reason. So he does some things well. Exciting change at Montana State. You guys let me know what you guys think Justin Lamson is going to bring to the table. And I will move on. Okay, college football 26 video game. Athletes to get $1.5K from EA Sports for participation. So last year during the 2024 season, actually I think it was the 2024 summer when the college football game was released for the first time in 10 years. College football athletes, the reason the game went away in 2014 was because college football athletes were not profiting off their name, image, and likeness, which was illegal, which was deemed to be illegal by a court of law. They no longer could do that. The game went away. They brought the game back in 2024, but this time athletes were being compensated for their name, image, and likeness. Now, you could be a nobody, a Joe Schmo, and you are going to get $600 for being on this game. Now, the college football 26 video game is up in the ante. They made, I guess it was a record. They made record. They said they made record funds or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the article said, but it said after a record profits on the last year, which I think we're expecting to see. The game's been away for 10 years. People have been begging for the game to come back. It comes back. You expect record revenue, record profits. That happened. So now they're coming back to the table in 2025 and say, hey, everybody bought the game. Things are going good. We got more money now. So you guys in turn get more money. And I don't know how many athletes. I'd love to see the data on how many athletes actually opted in versus how many athletes were in college football. But I suspect that number is going to go up. You're going to get $1,500 and a deluxe version of the game just for being on a roster. Now, that doesn't include FCS players. Unfortunately, that's only FBS players. But I think this is a good change. I think this is exciting. Now, I would love to know, they're getting $1,500. They only got $600 last year. They're getting $1,500 this year. How much do you think those game developers and the people at EA are making on this game? That is what I want to know. Because if you're paying each college football player, each FBS college football player $1,500, I mean, they had to have made, I don't know, $1 billion? $100 million? I don't know. I don't know game numbers. I don't know all that stuff. But they made they said they made a record amount of money. So exciting change for college football athletes at the FBS level. Exciting change. They're getting almost $1,000 more than they got last year. I know that is something that'll help a lot of young college athletes out. You know, maybe some shoe money, maybe a trip that you want to take during the summer. But $1,500, that's exciting. Make sure you guys get those filed. Make sure you guys get your CPA or whatever you got with you, working with you on that so that you guys can file that accordingly. But exciting change happening in college football. These guys are getting some money in their pockets. That's what it's all about. That's what it has become to be all about. That's what a lot of people don't want it to be about, but that is currently what it's about right now. These college athletes getting paid every which way possible. So this is just another avenue from that. You guys let me know what you guys think about the change. Do you guys think it's still not enough? $1,500? I know some people thought the $600 was a little lackluster. Do you guys think the $1,500 isn't enough now? What do you guys think? You guys let me know down below, and I will move on. Okay. Fran Brown at Syracuse is doing some amazing things with NIL, and I think he deserves some flowers. I think Fran Brown deserves some flowers. I got a couple of sound bites I want to play from him of him talking about some of the changes he's making at Syracuse with the NIL. And so I'm going to play these clips, and then we are going to talk about what some of these changes, what the ramifications of this are. So this is Fran Brown at Syracuse talking about some of the things he's doing with NIL.
Every Wednesday from 2:30 to 3 o'clock, our players are doing financial literacy. So that someone's coming in and they teach us 2 to 3 things. I don't want the guys to get too much more, because sometimes it's information overload, and our guys are like, okay, I'm worried about practice right now. So we give them 2 to 3 things, and then I'll ask those questions so we can touch base on it to know it. So like our players will all have LLCs, right? We're trying to teach them to be able to go do all the right things so that they can be super successful, whether they make it to the NFL or not. Right? They'll be successful in life just because they were on our football team, right? They'll be successful in life because, just imagine, I know for me growing up, a young kid going to college as a freshman, I get to know like who runs the bank. Like that's not normal, right? So now you get to do different things, and we want to expose them to all of this stuff, so that way when the next people come in, I want to make sure that we leave this way better than we found it, so they understand how Syracuse get that good. Because Community Bank decided to step up and go do this. Myers Creek decided to do certain things when it came to SU football NIL, and then the players just started to come, and they educate their players. So now all those players that left, they're always coming back, right? And that's how you build a program and not just a football team.
I think the change that Fran Brown is making, I think some of the things that he's mentioning in this are freaking amazing. His financial literacy courses that he's doing every week, amazing. Creating an LLC for all of his players, amazing. Allowing them to save 40% of their checks is amazing. I mean, he is making positive change in the NIL landscape, in a landscape that a lot of people think is pretty volatile, and there's not a lot of framework out there. Fran Brown is trying to create that framework for himself. That is something that I've mentioned, like, are these kids getting financial literacy courses? Are these kids being taught how to save their money? Are they being influenced to save their money? Fran Brown is saying, forget that. I have a policy that my players must save 40%. Now, how much is 40%? I mean, I don't know how much these players are making, but I'm sure 40% over the course of 4 years is going to be a large sum of money. And a lot of these, and that has been some of the sentiment from a lot of people in the college sports landscape, is that we are giving these athletes this money with no framework and also no merit. I mean, they haven't done anything, but these guys are walking into college athletics and getting boatloads of money. And I say boatloads comparatively to what they were getting previously. But these guys are getting handed this money fresh out of high school after not doing anything, after not having accomplished anything. These guys haven't done anything, and they're getting this money. So I think Fran Brown is making a positive change in the fact that, yes, we're going to give you this money, but also you are going to do something positive once you get this money. You are not just going to be another guy. You are not just going to be another athlete. You are going to make positive change in this world, by golly. So exciting change for Fran Brown in Syracuse. I have another soundbite that I wanted to play from him, and I want to give my thoughts following this soundbite.
We got a program called Syracuse 60, which we guarantee after you graduate to get a job 60 days or less. Like, as soon as you graduate, you got 60 days for me to help you get a job. It's important that I get you a job making meaningful money inside of your major, right? And we got some criminal justice majors. I was a criminal justice major. They're always looking for good players. I told them, like, my team is like second to none when it comes to class act guys, right? We sit in the first 2 rows. Our grades are up. Like, dudes understand and know. So I want to make sure they all know that you got an opportunity of going to be successful also here. These guys make 6 figures. So, hey, come talk to my team. If you're looking for some people to come and join that know what they're doing, I got a bunch of fine young men here that could come step right in and take y'all place as y'all leave out.
Syracuse 60. I mean, that is amazing. That is amazing. The fact that he's doing that for his athletes, the fact that he's trying to give them a place. So everybody knows, not every person, and a small percentage of college athletes are going to play in the professional ranks. There's not a lot of players. It's the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. It's a small percentage of athletes, college athletes, who play professional sports. Fran Brown is not only trying to create a framework for where these players have to save money, where these players have to be literate about their money, where these players have to have an LLC, but also they're creating a framework to where, within 60 days of your graduation, we are going to do everything we can and ensure that you have a job. And he's calling it his 60-day guarantee. So he's guaranteeing that you have a job in your major following graduation from Syracuse, at least on his football team. Not at the whole Syracuse athletic department, not at the whole Syracuse school, but for football players who choose to play for Fran Brown at Syracuse, I am going to try to do everything I can to get you a job within 60 days of your graduation. I mean, I think a lot of coaches could take a lot of good from what Fran Brown is doing at Syracuse. I think he is doing NIL the right way. I think he is doing college sports the right way. I think he is trying to put his players in a position to be successful. And I think that's all you can ask for as a college coach, is to put your players in a position to be successful. I think that's all you can do as a college coach. There's nothing else that you can do outside of trying to make your players as successful as possible. Fran Brown is doing that at Syracuse, and I think he deserves some applause. So you guys let me know what you guys think about Fran Brown and what he's doing at Syracuse. Do you guys think this is some things that some other coaches can peel from Fran Brown and take from Fran Brown? What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will move on. Okay, I'm not going to talk about this for too long at all, but I wanted to give my thoughts about it. Somebody asked Dr. Luke Wood, what's going on? Hey, Dr. Luke Wood, are we still on track for the formal conference affiliation announcement this month for football and Olympic sports? Yes. Simple as that. Yes. So the answer that we need right now for Sac State going to the FBS is yes. For football, for the formal conference affiliation announcement. So they said formal conference affiliation announcement. I don't know so much what they mean about formal conference affiliation announcement, meaning maybe they're going to the MAC. Maybe they're going to the Sun Belt. Maybe they are going to a conference. Maybe they're going to Conference USA. Who knows? You got Stanford and Cal in the ACC. Who says Sac State can't play in the Sun Belt? Who says Sac State can't play in the American Conference? I mean, I don't know. A lot of people have hinted towards independent, which I think is the lane I think that they're going. I don't know though. I have no idea. But Dr. Luke was giving more answers to the people at Sac State, let them know, hey, we are still on track. And they said this month. That's what they said. Formal conference affiliation this month. There is a week left in this month. Today is March 23rd, Sunday, March 23rd. So that leaves, I think, is there 31 days in March? That leaves 7 to 8 days left for them to make an announcement. So we will see. I'm excited to see. I hope it's coming this week. We will see. Hopefully it comes before I even drop this video. So we will see about that. But exciting news at Sac State. They're still on track with their FBS announcement. I've been very loud about that. So I want to give props where props are due. Dr. Luke will giving an update on that FBS announcement. Said it's coming very soon. I'm excited about that. I will move on. You guys let me know what you guys think about that down below. Okay, last topic of the day. I skipped the Troy Taylor topic. We're going to push that to next week. Hot takes or real talk? I started this segment last week giving some hot takes or real talk about some of the things going on in FCS football, and I'm going to do it again. Hot takes or real talk. Number one, South Dakota State will be a middle-of-the-pack MVFC team in 2025. I don't think this is a hot take. South Dakota State has lost a ton. Did I actually say something like this last week? Nope, I didn't. Just making sure, because I felt like I've talked about this already, but I have talked about South Dakota State, and I have talked about all the talent that they're losing, but I don't think I've said that I think they'll be down next year. I think they'll be down next year. I don't think South Dakota State is going to bounce back very strongly from losing Jimmy Rogers, from losing a lot of their talent. I mean, they lost a ton of talent. Running backs, receivers, Mark Gronowski, defensive players, they got gutted. A lot of their players, I think it was like 18 to 20 players left and joined Jimmy Rogers at Washington State. And that's not good. I know Jimmy Rogers isn't, I mean, he could be taking some younger players. I'm not going to say that, but it's not looking good for him. And that is number one. Number two, Justin Lamson will lead the Bobcats to a deep playoff run. Is that a hot take or is that real talk? I think there is a chance that Justin Lamson comes into Montana State and leads them on a deep playoff run. I think he has a lot of the traits that they're looking for at Montana State. I think he is a player that that's the type of player they want at Montana State in that system. Similar to Tommy Mellott. I think he's not as good of a thrower as Tommy Mellott, which is crazy to say because historically I haven't thought Tommy Mellott was the greatest thrower. He made me a believer in 2024. I don't think Justin Lamson will be as good of a thrower as Tommy Mellott became, but I think in terms of using his legs, I think he's everything they want. I think with some of his talents, he could potentially lead Montana State to a deep playoff run. Is that a hot take or is that real talk? Number 3. A United Athletic Conference team will play for a national championship in 2025-2026 football season. Is this a hot take or real talk? It feels a little hot take-ish, but the UAC had 3 playoff teams last year. Eastern Kentucky, Tarleton State, Abilene Christian. Let's not forget that. The UAC is cooking with hot grease right now. Now, Tarleton State, losing Kayvon Britton, losing Darius Cooper. ACU, I can't remember who they're losing to ACU. They might be pretty retooling up, and I don't know too much about Eastern Kentucky. I probably need to do a deep dive on the UAC and give some updates about what's going on in the UAC. But a UAC team will play for the national championship in 2025-2026. That feels a little hot take-ish, but I think it could happen. I believe it. You guys let me know. Hot take or real talk. Number 4, this will be one of the most even Big Sky seasons in recent history. In quotes, I put, or in parentheses, I put the conference will beat up on each other. Is this a hot take or real talk? I think the Big Sky is really up in the air this year, especially if Sac State leaves. That's a school that's brought in a lot of talent who I think if they stay in the Big Sky will be the team to beat in the Big Sky. But take Sac State out of the equation. This will be one of the most even seasons in the Big Sky, I believe. I believe there's a lot of talent left from all schools. Montana lost talent. Montana State lost talent. Idaho lost talent. UC Davis graduated some talent. I don't think they lost a lot of talent in the transfer portal, but they graduated a lot of talent in Land Larison, Miles Hastings in particular. I think this will be a pretty square year for the Big Sky Conference. I think there will be a lot of teams that I think it'll be kind of up in the air. I think there'll be like 4 or 5 teams at the top of the Big Sky that, Coulter Nuanez of Skyline Sports and of ESPN Radio in Missoula always talks about. There is tiers in the Big Sky Conference. You got the upper echelon. Last year, that was UC Davis and Montana State. Nobody else was in, or I guess we'll put Idaho in that upper echelon. But honestly, it was really UC Davis. It was really Montana State. And then there was a tier 2. And that was Montana, UC Davis, Idaho. And I don't even know if Montana can fit in there because they were a playoff team. They won a playoff victory. They got a playoff victory. So hindsight, obviously, we're talking about that. But I don't know if during the season I would even have counted Montana in that second tier. And then there's a third tier. That is the bottom of the Big Sky, the Portland States, the Northern Colorados, the teams, the Cal Polys that never really compete at all. I think there will be that second tier this year. There's not going to be an upper tier. Let me rephrase this. I don't think there's going to be an upper tier team that is head and shoulders above the rest of the Big Sky next year. I think everybody will be pretty even matched, and I think it'll be, you'll be kind of battling for the Big Sky Conference until the last game. And I don't think we'll know definitively who the best team in the Big Sky Conference is until the last week of the season. So is that a hot take or is that real talk? The question, let me restate it because I've kind of said a lot of things. This will be one of the most even Big Sky seasons in recent history. Real talk, or is that a hot take? Number 5, and our final one, NIL and the transfer portal has made it easier for smaller FCS schools to compete with the upper tier schools. Is that a hot take or real talk? Let me give my reasoning for putting this on here. NIL and transfer portal guts all the bigger, the upper tier FCS schools. They get gutted. The South Dakota States, North Dakota States. I think North Dakota State is probably one of the best schools at retaining their talent. And probably one of the biggest reasons for that is because they play for national championships. If I'm not going to go to a G5 school, I want to pay for a national championship. And I'm doing that in North Dakota State and South Dakota State. But in terms of like the rest of the schools who aren't winning national championships, I think the fact that every school is getting poached. Nobody is outside of maybe a North Dakota State, South Dakota State, who we have seen be able to retain some of their talent in previous years. Everybody's getting poached. The whole Big Sky is getting poached. The whole CAA is getting poached. The SoCon is getting poached. Nobody is free of losing players to the transfer portal and to NIL. I think because of that change is the reason you're able to see a conference like the UAC get multiple teams who win first round playoff games. I think that's a reason why you're able to see some of the smaller schools get up. Now, we're looking at the semifinals last year. It's Montana State, South Dakota, North Dakota State, South Dakota State. MVFC and Big Sky. 3 MVFC teams in the Big Sky. Now, that discounts everything I'm saying. But I think, it allows some of the smaller FCS schools to compete maybe during the regular season, maybe in the earlier rounds of the playoffs. Like, I keep talking about the UAC. You guys have no idea. I had zero respect for the UAC before last season. No offense to anybody who plays in the UAC. I just didn't really, I felt like the conference was piecemeal together. You grab a school from over here, you grab a Southern Utah out of the Big Sky, let's grab somebody from the CAA, hey, let's go grab this Big South OVC team. I mean, it just felt like it was piecemeal together with bottom tier teams from all these conferences. All of a sudden, Southern Utah is a decent squad. They took UC Davis to the brink in the regular season. I mean, there's good ball being played. I think the NIL and transfer portal make it an even more even landscape at the FCS level. I'm sure a lot of people probably disagree with me. Is that a hot take or real talk? You guys let me know what you guys think about all these hot takes. Are they hot takes or are they real talk? You guys let me know down below. I will move on. Okay, that is going to conclude my video this week. I want to thank you guys for tapping in. Like I said, we had some technical difficulties this week in the video. I will obviously be able to chop it up all together and put it all together. You guys might not even notice that we had technical difficulties, but we did. So I appreciate you guys tuning into the channel. Remember, I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. I mentioned it at the end of the video. 80% of you guys are 80% of you guys who watch my videos are not subscribed to my channel. Please subscribe to the channel. It means a ton. Support small school football. Support me. Subscribe to the channel. Go subscribe to the Skyline Sports channel as well. Go follow Skyline Sports on Twitter. Almost at 10,000 followers on Skyline Sports Twitter account. So please go subscribe to my channel right now as you're watching this video. Hit a like on this video if you appreciate this content. Also, leave me a comment down below. Comment on some of the topics we like. I like interacting with you guys. I like when you guys leave comments. I like when you guys tell me what you guys are thinking about. If you guys got something you guys want me to talk about, please let it be known. Dropped 4 breakdowns last week. I am dropping at least 3 breakdowns this week. Gonna work on some more breakdowns, but obviously, as I mentioned, graduate school is finished. Been trying to get these pre-draft breakdowns in there of all these FCS players. So if you guys got somebody you guys want to see broken down, you guys want to see me give my thoughts on a player, please let me know below. But I want to thank you guys for tapping in. Thank you guys for tuning in to the channel. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the love. Basketball season is coming to an end. That means the football talk is going to revamp up again, which is exciting. Things happening in the world. Make sure you guys go check out the Thunder as well. OKC Thunder, #1 in the West. Lock down that #1 seed in the West. Now, this doesn't mean anything. This doesn't mean a thing because we haven't won a thing and we are still young. And we were the 1 seed last year. We got knocked out and it didn't matter. But exciting things are happening in the world. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I will catch you guys next time. See you later.